This is mid-month mentoring with Richard Evans. And this month we've got me as a guest speaker. So I'm Richard's business partner, and we have a few businesses together. We do property investments together, and we also have a marketing agency. And my background's in branding and marketing. So he's asked me to give you a presentation today about how to create a brand that you love. So not sure if anyone else is joining us at the moment, so let's get cracking on. So the first slide I've got here is really the introduction to why you should brand. And it's completely plain, there's no branding on it. It's in the typeface that PowerPoint opens up in. It couldn't really be any plainer. So if you look at that, it doesn't really say anything about me or any of the organizations that I represent. If we go to the next slide where I'm actually branded, it looks completely different. So all of a sudden, I look like I perhaps know what I'm talking about. So having a brand for yourself or for your company can really help you look more professional in front of other people. And it can also give you more confidence as well. So if you feel like you're professional, you will act more professional. And that's kind of self-fulfilling, to be honest. So today I'm going to go over a few things. I'm going to go over what I know, so what my background is. I'll talk a bit about what is a brand. So most people think a brand is simply a logo or a color scheme. I'll talk about why you should be a brand, what kind of brand that you might be, and then how to put together a brief. So if you go to an agency or a freelancer or whoever you use and you ask them to put together a brand for you, they're going to want to know some basic stuff about what you're like, what you do, that kind of stuff. So we'll go through that. And then at the end, I'll do a quick meet the team. We've got a few people in our team. So as it says on the tin, your virtual marketing team is a virtual team. So there's myself and Richard in the UK. And then we have a team of people in the Philippines who are our marketing team. They do all the work for us and our clients. So in terms of what do I know? My background's actually in advertising as well as marketing. So from the left there, I started at Saatchi & Saatchi a long time ago, where I worked on Carlsberg Tetley and a load of Procter & Gamble brands, which were all a little bit random, to be honest. And then over 15 years, I worked my way through these three agencies. And as you progress your career, you get specialist knowledge. So you find a subject that is normally close to your heart, and you become an expert in that. So you can see from starting off on what looks like fairly random stuff, I very quickly specialized in two things, which was finance and food. So two subjects that are very close to my heart. At Mediacom, I ran Royal Bank of Scotland and Virgin Money and Aviva. And then on the food side, Uncle Ben's Findus, Green and Blacks, and Wenzy Your Domio Day. So the Findus stuff is no longer in the UK, unfortunately, but that was a really nice brand. And then I moved into Starcom and I ran the Barclays account. And also UBS and Jacobs Creek and Cadbury's. But the main client really was Barclays and then UBS. So working on those clients, I really focused mainly on high net worth individuals. So I spent years looking at how to target them, how to appeal to them with our brands and our communications. And I did the communication strategy as well as the media strategy. So after about 15 years, I was in a meeting with Barclays private clients. So that's people, they're targeting people with high net worth. And the marketing director said, we want to target people that have recently come into £15 million. And I said, okay, that sounds really interesting. How do you recently come into £15 million? And he said, you start a company in your mid-30s and you sell it in your mid-50s. And I said, okay, I'm 34. And he sort of nodded at me, went, well, you know, there's your time. So I went away. As I said, two subjects that are close to my heart is food and money. So I went away and quit the ad industry and opened up my own company, which was Reynolds. That's my last name. Which was a chain of coffee shops and food retail. So a little bit like Pret, but a lot more trendy. We had three sites in Westminster. We were doing 10,000 customer transactions a week. Plus there was an outside catering company that was doing parties and fashion shows and things. And we exited in 2012 and sold the company on to an investor. So the thing we did that was different really was we did smaller portions of food than you would normally buy for lunch. So if you think of Pret, you'd buy 2 items usually. You buy a sandwich or a salad and a bag of crisps or a chocolate bar or something. But you normally just buy 2. But that's not really how I eat. I tend to eat lots of little bits and just kind of graze throughout the day. So the brand is named after me. Our target market were young professional female workers in the West End. They're the most likely to buy skinny lattes. And so we designed a brand around them. So the brand had to do certain things. Everything we did had to be cute, had to be delicious, and had to be fun. So we created this brand of the 2 birds. They're very cute. It says, let's graze. So they're saying, let's eat smaller portions more regularly. And then for Reynolds, the different typefaces for each of the letters is supposed to represent the variety of the food that you were eating. So you weren't just having boring stuff every day. You get to eat lots of different things. So that's kind of my background. After I exited in 2012, so that was 10 years ago, I then wanted to go back to marketing. But having spent 5 years building up my own small business, I didn't really want to go and work for the big brands again. I wanted to start working with smaller brands and startups. So I started a digital agency and I did what I called at the time big brand thinking for small business. So I would apply everything I knew from working on the big guys like Barclays and the like, but I would just apply it to smaller brands and startups. So that's my background. Next, we should look at what is a brand. So lots of people think of a brand like Virgin, for example, as a really good, strong brand in the UK and abroad. And lots of people think of the colour scheme, the red and yellow, or they think of the V that they use as a logo. But that's not really what a brand is, though. A brand is more than that. A brand is really what you stand for, but more importantly, what your consumers think about you. So how they consider you. So on the left is the Virgin logo. That's not a brand, that's just a logo. The brand is more to do with Richard Branson and how the company operates and what they stand for. So when I think of Branson and I think of Virgin, I think doing things differently, great customer service, being a challenger brand. Those are the kind of things that I would think about them. I think that they're not expensive, but they're not cheap. They're good quality, those kind of things. And when you look at the Virgin Group, what they actually stand for are all of those things. So this is an old slide from a good 10 years ago. So the things that Virgin stand for are fun, value for money, quality, innovation, competitive challenge, and brilliant customer service. So that's not a colour scheme or a logo. That's what they want people to think about. So they have to try and in some way make you think that that's what they're like. And the main way they do it is by living the brand. So they do those things. If you go on a Virgin flight, you do get value for money, you do get quality, the customer service is brilliant, but they then try to tie that up in a brand as well. So for us as individuals or as small companies or even startups, we have to think a bit about what do we want other people to think about us before we've even started so that we can give the right impression. So for example, if you are a company, if you're an investor, say, or not an investor, if you're going to investors, property investors, and you're saying, give me loads of money, I'm going to make an investment and give you a return, then as a brand, you want to look professional, you need to look like you know what you're doing, but you also need to know, to look like you're big enough that you can handle their money. If you're doing something completely different, if you're putting on parties for students, your brand would be all about fun and being trendy and exciting and that kind of thing. So you need to work out what your brand is before you really start and what it is you're trying to convey to people. That's not a process you would necessarily do on your own. You would work with your design agency or marketing agency or freelancer, and they would help you come to those conclusions by taking a brief from you. So one of these is the Bank of England and the other one isn't. So the reason the Bank of England looks like that is fairly straightforward, really. They're doing the same thing as we would do for a brand. They're demonstrating that they're here long term. They're not going to disappear with your money next week. They've built that impressive building, and they're saying, you know, we're here for the long term. We know what we're doing. We're establishment. So establishment is the pillars and the triangle at the top, the same as Rolls-Royce used to use on their grills. That means that's a branding cue for we're upmarket and established and wealthy. So that building shows that they're in it for the long haul. So when we're building a brand, we want you to look really professional so that people think that you're in it for the long haul. So if you invest in yourself and make yourself look like you are in it for the long term, people are much more likely to deal with you, particularly when you're looking for investment. So if that will move on. So when you start, one of the first things people tend to ask me is, what color should I be? Depending on your company would be dependent on what you want to project. So if you wanted to be seen as an environmentally friendly color, you'd probably use natural colors like green or yellow. However, for a lot of us, particularly for individuals, we want to look like we know what we're doing. So I would suggest one of the best places you could start is blue. Blue is the color of authority. So you can see some of those people there. Conservative Party, Metropolitan Police, University of Oxford, they all stick with blue because it means we are the ones that know what we're doing. If you're a fun brand, you might look at red. If you were a value brand, you might look at orange, like some of the airlines use. But for most people, you probably start at blue. So when I talk about a personal brand, it's best always really to give examples. I'm going to do mine, which is blue, but then I'm going to show you some other color schemes as well that other people have done. So when you're determining what kind of brand you are, there's lots of things to think about, and they're often on a sliding scale. So it might not be one or the other, it might be somewhere in the middle. But the things to consider are, for example, are you modern or are you traditional? Are you upmarket or are you a low-cost supplier? Are you a me too? So I'm just doing the same as other people. Or are you disruptive? Are you doing something completely different in the industry? Are you quiet versus are you loud? And then are you secure? So that means, are you low risk or are you exciting and risky? So on the right, some of the brands that we've developed over the last year or so. The first one, Truly Homes, find your room in the capital. They're an HMO letting agency. They wanted to be seen as very modern. They wanted to explain that they were an HMO agency without saying, without being blunt like that, because a lot of the consumers don't know what HMOs are. Garland Interiors, they're an upmarket soft furnishings company, and they are more expensive and more luxurious. So we've gone for a very dark blue, almost grey, with a gold emblem. And the owner's name is Garland, is their last name. So we've used a garland around the G as a logo. Sell My Property Shop, that is a modern, straightforward kind of business. It does what it says in the tin for a fast, certain sale. So that's a we buy any car of the property world. And we've gone for a green colour for them, as most of the rest of the industry were using very dark colours. So we thought that looked slightly more fun to have something that was green. And then the last one is Smart Living, which is luxury co-living and working. They're very trendy, as a very trendy brand. So we picked out a design element that's fashionable at the moment of the copper hexagons that you can see in the logo here. And we built this logo to show three cubes within a larger cube. And that's to represent different people living in co-living and working space. So when you've got an idea of what kind of brand you are, you can then move up and look at a few of the other things. So what is your core value? That's quite a hard one because we don't always know what we are when we first start. But you'll have an idea if you want to focus on being financially savvy, or if you want to be trustworthy, or if it's all about customer service. And that'll give you an idea of what your core values are. And we'll try and build that into the brand, the name and the strapline working together to give an idea of what you do. And the last question, what do you actually do? I see lots of people and they tell you, oh, we do blah, 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 blah. And I go, I don't really know what that means. And I ask them again, what do they actually do? And it can take 3 or 4 times for people to explain what their business actually does. So when you're a small company, things change and your direction might change. So you need to always be clear about what you actually do and work out how you can tell people what you do. So I have a digital marketing agency. There you go. That's I've got it down to as small a thing as I can. We deal with startups and small businesses, but we specialize in property related companies and property investors. So I can do a longer version, but it's still quite succinct. I think you know what it is I do there. What I should have said earlier is I'll take questions at the end. If you have any questions as we're going through, could you put them in the Q&A for me, please, rather than in the chat, and then I'll deal with them all at the end. Right, so back to what you actually do. So if, as a guide, I would always say to people, you should be able to explain to your grandmother what you do in 30 seconds, and at the same time, be able to tell Dave down the pub what it is you do and he'll understand. And if those two people, they get it straight away, then you've really narrowed it down to what you specifically do. If they say, well, I don't know what that means, then you need to do a bit more work on what it is you actually do. So those are the questions we'd start up front. I went through this process a few years ago for my own personal brand. So as well as having a company, your virtual marketing team, I also have a personal brand for when I'm doing business outside of the company. So that might be to do with property, or I do mentoring for startups as well. So this is my personal brand. I went with dark blue. That's an easy one for me to go with. It's the colour of authority. I think I know what I'm doing, so that's all good. And I've got a strap line of bringing your company to market. So that works on two accounts really, for the two things I do. So I do the marketing to take your company to the market, but I also do startup planning and advice and guidance. So I'll help bring your company to the market in that way as well. So whichever way I'm working, I can use that same strap line for either of those. Now, the benefit to having a personal brand is that these days people do check you out quite a lot. So, sorry, that's gone the wrong way. So this is my Facebook page. So I've got my personal brand on there. I've got consistency. It's the same wherever I put it. That's me there. That's my official photo. So professionally taken photo. I use that everywhere. And when I'm presenting in front of groups of people, to be very consistent, I wear the same shirt as I have in the photo, just so that people can remember you more easily. And then if we move on to LinkedIn, same branding, same photo. And we find that people will, when they first find you, because you're not already a well-known high street brand, they will dig around and do a bit of research on you to find out if you're trustworthy. So if everything online matches, if your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook page and everything all matches, and maybe you have your own website as well, if it all looks the same and it matches your business card and something, then people are going to think that you are very much doing what you say you are, and so they will trust you more. So a big thing for branding is consistency. So that's my brands. Here, this is some examples of other brands that we've developed. This is Benjamin. So we developed this brand for him, Citadel Properties. He finds property deals for investors and uses investors' money. So he's got making your money work harder because he gets better returns for people. The logo that we've designed for him and the name fit together. So a citadel is a small city, and the logo is reminiscent of a castle, or a fortress. So we've designed a brand that, like the Bank of England, looks like it's going to be around for a while and it's protecting your money. And he's building small empires, small cities for investors. And then we make sure everything fits together. So on the left, you can see we've got business cards, letterheads, and a folder to send them out in. So that makes him look really professional because everything matches, everything fits together. He's a professional in himself anyway. He was a pharmacist, but he's a member of all of the landlord things. So at the bottom of the letter there, you can see we put all his accreditations on and all the organisations that he belongs to. And that helps to just build a really good professional image for him. So now he looks the part. He certainly talk the deals. He can go out there and approach investors, and he'll feel like he's got his armour on and he's ready to go into battle. The next example I've got is similar, but a different brand. This is Gareth Thomas. He's a property investor. He does landlord letters for HMOs, and so we templated a landlord letter for him, and included in that is the 5 steps that he takes to securing HMOs. That all ties in with his business card. Again, same as Benjamin's, we've got his photo on there so that he's consistent. And his social media is all under the same brand, so everything ties up. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, it all works really well. So Gareth didn't want to go down the navy blue route, but he does premium stuff. So he wanted to look upmarket. So dark green and gold, like Harrods, is a very upmarket brand color scheme rather. And that's worked really well. So that's an idea of a few personal brands. This is Vinod. He's another client. Vinod wanted a brand that was masculine, a little bit aggressive, and he said he wanted it to look like a sports car brand. So we've tried to do that for him. So his strap line is premium property for premium members. So he does very upmarket stuff. So he wanted to look upmarket, but at the same time he wanted to look aggressive. So you can go to investors and they say, "I'm not messing around, I'm getting on with this. I'm doing it. You know, everything's go go go." And that brand came out really well. Very pleased with that one. So when you approach somebody to help develop a brand for you, you will need to write a brief. They might help you do that, but like I said, you've got to start with what do you actually do, and then I would look at who you're trying to attract as well. So high net worth individuals for a lot of people we deal with is one of the main targets. You might also be looking at going to multiple investors or investment institutions. You might be going to landlords, or you might be a lettings agency trying to attract students. So if you work out exactly who your audience are that you're trying to talk to and match that up with the brand that you want to be, it should be an easy process then, because they should understand what you're doing and that you're the right company for them. On top of that, you should look at what do they actually want. So for Truly Homes, we said finding your room in the capital, because that's all they wanted. They just wanted a room in London in an HMO. And so we were quite concise about that. They wouldn't necessarily know what an HMO was. So we just said, find your room. We could have said house share or something like that, but that worked really well. And then lastly, why should they be interested in you? So your unique selling point. So once you've said to people what it is that you do, there's probably other people that do it. So you need to give them a reason why you are the one to go through. That might be better returns, lower cost, less risk, faster service, great customer service. Could be the design element. It depends on your business. But finding something that just separates you from the competition will help you much easier make a sale and cut through all the noise of the competition then. So how do we do it? So as I said, we're a virtual marketing team. So there's a couple of us in the UK and the rest of the team are out in the Philippines. So I'm just going to briefly go over this before we go to Q&A. So we use a lot of tech and a lot of systems to run the business. So everything has been systemized. We have processes in place for every part of the business, and for every process, it's documented, and there are different types of communications to run that. So regularly we're on Zoom with the team discussing all the projects. We use Trello for task management. We use Asana for project management, so for running projects to time. As I said, we have regular Zoom meetings, and they're at fixed times every week. We use Slack for quick questions. We try not to use email as much as we possibly can. And if it's urgent, we use WhatsApp. So just by doing that, we can communicate with people on the other side of the world really surprisingly well, to be honest. And so the business runs very smoothly. So this is some of our team on a Zoom call. You can see Richard's up there in the corner. We will have calls with them twice a week, 3 times a week for marketing department. And then Richard's other business, above them, they meet regularly as well. to make sure everything's running smoothly for them. So this is our team out in the Philippines. They are all remote workers, so they don't all live in the same place. They're spread out across different islands and different areas of the Philippines. But a lot of them did manage to meet up at Christmas for a dinner that they shared together, which was brilliant. Richard and I joined them on Zoom for 5 minutes. That was great fun. So that's kind of us. That's how I would go about putting a brand together for you, and what the advantages are of that. So briefly to go through what we've said, I explained I did advertising and branding for food and finance clients. I then had my own brand. I then talked about a brand not being an icon, but about being what other people perceive you as. I think I explained why you should be a brand yourself. So the advantages of looking professional, getting people to take you seriously. And then a bit about what kind of brand you are yourself, and a bit about how to put together a brief, and then a quick meet the team, just because they're my team. I'm proud of them. So that's it for today. It was a fairly short one today, but if there are any questions, if you'd like to put them in the Q&A, that would be brilliant. If you have any, that would be great. Okay, so first question, how much might it cost to develop a brand? It's a good question. So in the old days, that would have cost you thousands and thousands of pounds. But using freelancers, remote workers, or even people like us, anything from maybe £500 to £1,500 will get you going. And that will give you a brand pack, which would be, typically that would be a brand, strapline, a logo, if that's required, business cards, letterheads, an email signature would be the basics. And then if you've got other requirements, we'd add them on as well. So for social media, for example, or website design or something like that, you could get that as part of it as well. If you want to discuss this more, go onto the website and you can make a call with us, and we can start discussing how we can work together. Okay, any more questions? Yeah, how long might it take? The process can be fairly quick. We could do it in a few weeks sometimes. If you sign things off quickly and you know roughly what you want at the beginning. Sometimes it will take a little bit longer. It might take 3 or 4 weeks, particularly if the first batch isn't quite what you wanted, or you want to make amendments. It can take a little bit longer, but not too bad. How long would it take to develop a brand pack? Similar thing, yeah. So it could be pretty quick. But if you're doing a full brand pack, then it could take up to a month to do that. And again, if you want to go the next step and have a website built, that could take anywhere from 3 to 8 weeks, depending on how complicated it is. A simple one's just a page or so, but if you've got lots of technical bits on there, it'll take a bit longer. Okay, good. So that's it from us this week, or this month rather. One more question? No? Okay, good. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure I will see you again at some point. And next month we'll be back with Richard Evans. Many thanks.